now the memory trade is like fairly well understood and like pretty fairly priced. But I think the thing I think about is it like actually a structural shift or is it cyclical? And I think this is also relates, and I think about this also in line of like GPU, CPU ratios. One thing that I've been thinking about is that like the GPU trade did really well, but I think what's less understood is that like Cognition, another one of our portfolio companies, Scott and Russ are crushing it there. They're, I would say, leading on like cloud agents for development, right? So right now, like if you're running like single agent inference, you use a lot more GPUs, but you have like one single thread. But if you're just orchestrating like 1,000 agents, each in their like own Docker cluster or Kubernetes cluster, you need a lot more CPUs. So it's like, you already see Intel AMD trading up because I think people are starting to realize maybe it's instead of like 8-to-1 GPU to CPU, maybe it gets 1-to-1 CPU to GPU. And I think the question is like, is that expressed in the market? Am I too smart? Am I too late? Is it fairly priced in? So I think there's something that I'm thinking about there, but also to memory. If we really see like more humanoids than humans, I think you still have 100x more memory to go, right? So it's just like, are we too early for that like next structural shift for like, yeah, maybe Micron and SK Hynix should be like $10 trillion companies. And maybe that's true if you literally have 20 billion humanoids.
Well, there's going to be two things I think are going to be true at the same time. These companies probably are undervalued. Like I think Micron is cheaper now than it was at the beginning of the year, if I remember correctly. Stock's up, I don't know, hundreds of %, but it's still cheaper on like a multiple basis. And so yes, it has run, but maybe actually it's more attractive now. And so they'll likely continue to grow because it doesn't look like there's any relief coming for the choke point, right? But then the second thing is now there's this like massive economic bounty of profit that is sitting there. And everyone is like, Micron and SK are about to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
If you're like some enterprising young startup founder, you're like, what would it take for me to get a piece of that profit pie?
Yeah.
And we've recently seen a couple of companies etched, right? And some of these companies that say, hey, look, we're going to go try to do really hard things that other people didn't think were possible. In a way, being like really young and ambitious and not having a lot to lose helps.
Yep.
Having access to capital, which there's lots of capital now, helps. But I do think a lot about like there's the economic pile or the economic incentive has to be so obvious to elicit the competition.
Yep.
And so I don't know, like, are we going to see 3 or 4 American, memory companies start coming to the market? 100% people are going to start saying in the public market, even if they can't do it. Right. So like there's always the like grift, aspect to it. Yeah. But there probably will be 1, 2, maybe 3 technical teams that are like, hey, we credibly think we can go, relieve this choke point. And if we do, we can make billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like that's how capitalism is supposed to work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Gavin and Rob for Etched, I mean, their main target is NVIDIA inference, right? Like I think the memory trade like they would also buy a shitload more memory too, right? So I think it's like, I think that's like the interesting question. Like which is also something I've been thinking about, like, do I rotate my attention towards more CapEx heavy companies, right? I think, I was born and raised in Silicon Valley in terms of my career. So like, I think we're very used to just be CapEx light, high margins.
Uber owns no cars.
And those are beautiful business models for a reason, right? Like just print out cash. But I think my current conclusion or current like checkpoint of thought is, if software is just going to be a codex or a Claude code away, and you're just kind of competing on prompts, and then maybe you have a little bit better distribution, a little bit proprietary data, maybe we're just going to be in a paradigm. You just need to go into atoms. You just need to do more CapEx stuff, which I think are the most interesting companies where we'll have a lot of CapEx, right? Like everyone's buying data centers, everyone's buying chips, everyone's buying power. Right. And I think the power trade is like increasingly interesting because I think that everything is just like the denomination of watts now, right? Like you assume the chips are good, you assume the models are good, you assume the applications are good. Okay. Then it's just like how cheap can your electricity be? That's why there's hype around like space clusters, ocean clusters, like nuclear clusters, right? Like I've seen, like, I'm sure you've seen all the different data centers powered by all sorts of interesting power things. But I think to me, it's like, why I'm excited and optimistic is that like this literally feels like you get to play and like support, help make sci-fi real, right? Like
100%.
fusion maybe can happen, right? We recently invested in Helion. They've visited their reactor prototype, and I think they're close to some breakthroughs that hopefully will be published and all of that stuff. But like, I remember just as a kid, this is like Star Trek stuff, right? Like fusion sounds cool, like just some like Star Trek movie thing. But if we're like at the cusp of seeing this actually happen in our lifetimes, that's so sick. And to be able to invest, participate, support those kind of projects and entrepreneurs, like what else would I do? Like it just seems so freaking awesome to do.
There's something about like the iPhone was the hardware innovation and then the software happened, right? And it's created all this profit.
Yeah.
And it feels like, if you go back to maybe the .coms, like, hey, there's all like the telecommunications and wires and data center and all this stuff, right? And then you got all the software.
Yeah.
I think that people have just now learned. Like there's a lot of folks in Silicon Valley who are like, I've seen this twice now.
Yeah.
I ain't missing the third time.
Yeah.
Right. And they're just ready to plow money in when they saw, okay, there's the choke points, there's the infrastructure being laid, all this stuff. And what I find maybe most fascinating is there's a number of people who are considered the best investors in the world. Like these guys are all over multiple trends at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you look at like the cap tables and you're just like, why is Peter Thiel in the ocean, data center kind of compute?
Yeah.
He also, he owns X% of SpaceX, who's now doing orbital data. And you're just like, it's impossible. Like whoever solves the data center problem, Peter and Founders Fund is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, we know some are not going to work, but like we get the first look at so much stuff.
Yep.
And so it goes back to like, there's an information asymmetry as well.
Yep.
And there's an access asymmetry of these private opportunities.
Yep. Yeah, I think that by definition of what makes market work is information asymmetry. So I think a lot of, the way I think about it is like just, like you just got to just go to like the primal problem. Okay, like I need to have unfair access to information. All right, let's figure out how to do that. So it's like, okay, I think on one hand, I think doing public podcasts helps get your ideas out there, but I feel like it's been very good to generate inbound ideas. But then two, I think that's probably like 10% of just where the information is, because I think a lot of the inbound is just bad. Mm-hmm. But then that means there's a lot of schlep work to just go meet people early in person. Mm-hmm. Travel, be in San Francisco, be in New York, be in San Diego, be in, just like meet these people where they're at. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like very well deserved, right? Like if it just like you just go read Reddit threads or read a Twitter thread and people tell you a stock to pick and you make a lot of money, okay, that's okay. Maybe you can still do that. But how do you earn the information asymmetry? Like get to people early, add value, give them information, get some information back, and just try to collect as much of that as possible. Mm-hmm.